Okay, I think we can start slowly. Good morning and good afternoon in Latin America and good evening in Switzerland. And welcome to this webinar, Swiss Companies, Products and Services in Latin America, organized by the Swiss Chambers of Commerce in Latin America in collaboration with the Swiss Made Foundation. I would like first to thank the Swiss Chambers in Argentina, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, Guatemala, Mexico, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela for their joint collaboration in organizing this webinar. My name is Christian Michel, and I am the director of the Swiss Mexican Chamber, and I will be moderating today's session. So if we can go to the next slide, I will briefly talk about the Swiss Chambers in Latin America. Then we will hear a little bit more about the Swiss Made Foundation, and we will have 30 minutes for our speakers' presentations and panel discussion. And at the end, we will have also enough time for questions and answers. So we represent 12 Swiss chambers all over Latin America. We organize business events, now mostly webinars due to the COVID situation. We collaborate closely with the Swiss embassies or consulates in our respective cities. We manage committees or working groups with Swiss or executives from Swiss companies. And some of the chambers also implement the dual education system, the Swiss model of dual education system in several Latin American countries. So if you have any information regarding any of the chamber, please do not hesitate to contact us. I will now give the floor to Stefan Widmer. He is project coordinator for Latin America at the Swiss Made Foundation.
Thank you a lot, Christian, for the introduction and also for the invitation to this webinar. I'm very glad to present you some general information about the Swiss Made Foundation and also about the projects in Latin America. So then we could go to the next slide, please. And also to the next one. So maybe first of all, the goal of the Swiss Made Foundation, the main objective is to make the success story and achievement of Switzerland and its companies known to a broad public through various channels. And probably the most important medium, as you can see below, is our book, the Swiss Made book. And it started basically back in 2011. Then James, who is going to talk to you in a bit, wrote the first edition in English on how Switzerland developed from an originally poor country to the most competitive country in the world. So this is how it started. And today in 2020, we are very proud to announce the Spanish version. It's the 9th version already of this book, which is now available. Okay, so next slide, please. Thank you, Emilia. So some key figures before we talk a bit more about the book and the content. About the Swiss Made Foundation, as mentioned, there are several languages. The book is published in several languages, 9 languages, and over 200,000 sold copies. And with those 9 languages, we cover more than 50% of the world's population. And not to forget now, the Spanish version was a big step for us because with the Latin America region, we talk about the most countries with the common language. So this has been a huge step for us. And also to mention, in 2014, the book was awarded by Pro Helvetia, which is one of the most important cultural institutions in Switzerland. What else has been achieved so far? So more than 60 Swiss embassies around the globe and also many Swiss Chamber of Commerce, they use the book as a diplomatic gift And as you can see, the book itself, federal counselors, they have written the preface of the book. In the case of the Spanish version, it's Ignacio Cassis who wrote the preface. And yeah, this reflects also the interest of the Swiss government in this book. And this is it. This is the book now, the Spanish version of Swiss Made. We have two versions. We have the hard copy, the elegant, the traditional version of the book. And also we have the digital version, the Kindle ebook, which you can get with a few clicks. So before you order some 300 or 400 books, it's maybe a good idea to convince yourself with the digital version. Yes, which you can find. I put the link below on Amazon. And about getting the book, we are by the end of the seminar or webinar, we are getting back to how you can get the book. Yeah, my final 2 slides is a bit more about emotions and some images. We have done a lot of book launch events around the world, but also lectures at leading universities, as you can see. And Swiss Made also counts with many publications of renowned media. On this slide, we can see partners and supporters of Swiss Made. There are many of them, but I would like to mention Nestlé, especially because Nestlé is the sponsor of the Spanish book version. And yeah, a big thank you to Nestlé to make this possible, the production of the Spanish book. Thank you. That was it from my side. You find my contact information on the slides, and as I mentioned, we will get back to how you get the book by the end of this webinar.
Thank you, Stefan, very much for the introduction of the Swiss Made Foundation. And now we will start with a presentation from James Breiding, Julieta Loaiza, and Monique Clúa Braun. And I will start by giving a brief presentation of James. He is the author of Swiss Made, The Untold Story Behind Switzerland's Success. He is based in Zurich and graduated from IMD Business School Lausanne and the Harvard Kennedy School. He is the founder of Naissance Capital, a Zurich investment firm, and co-founder.
We lost the audio, Christian.
We can't hear you, Christian.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yes.
I see.
Okay, I think we had a little technical problem with Christian, so maybe we can go on with James' reading presentation.
Okay.
If you are ready, James.
I'm ready. Yeah, sure.
Perfect.
As long as you can hear me. That's.
Yes,
so
we can.
If you could put do we have the presentation that we can put up there? Right. So yeah, good morning and thank you, Christian. I hope you can hear me, and thank you for having me, and also thank you, Elena and Julieta, for helping make this happen. It's a great privilege. It's a great honor. As Stefan mentioned, this is a really big day for us because it's at the end of the day, there's 500 million people speaking Spanish. It's the largest number of countries that speak a common language. It's the largest number of Swiss embassies that we work with closely. So it's really, in many ways, it's probably our biggest achievement. So it's really a great privilege to be here. And I apologize that I can't physically be there, but as we know, this pandemic doesn't permit that. But hopefully by the end of the year, we should be able to do something. So I just, again, I also wanted to thank Julieta and Nestlé for making this happen. I just spoke with Laurent Frey this morning, and I told him we're having this event, so he's very excited about that. We have the books that have now been printed. They're sort of hot off like bread out of the bakery. They're waiting in Barcelona to be shipped, and we'll be doing that with the help of Nestlé, which is great to report. And of course, the one I want to thank most is Stefan Wiedmer, who's just done a fantastic job, really working all ends of this project. And really, it's because of him that we're here today. So a big hearty thanks for that. So yeah, anyway, the story of Switzerland, is, of course, it's a fantastic success story. It's ranked, I think, for 8 years in a row, is ranked the most competitive country in the world. It's slipped down a little bit, but still, it's an incredibly competitive country, very high per capita GDP, but also a very fair and equitable distribution of income, which is very rare in today's world, where there's an incredible amount of stress and dissatisfaction, political dissatisfaction of the rising inequality. And the Swiss have managed to really prevent that. And then, of course, very low levels of inflation and very low levels of unemployment. So they're incredibly good at allocating capital and labor, and people actually believe in the government. We have a referendum, an initiative coming up, but it's just I'm waiting to send my vote by mail, and this happens 3, 5, 6 times a year. Very clean, very safe. So for people that are very wealthy, maybe very famous, it's a comfortable place to live without lots of fear. And anyone out there who has children, well, the Economist ranks it as the best place to be born, so that's not a bad thing to have. So yeah, it's a very, very good success story. Next slide. And I can only speak for a few minutes. You have the book, which I think is about 450 pages, so I'll be very brief. But I looked at like different levels of society, starting with the individual. And if you look at the individual level, it's there's a high degree of self-reliance that people are brought up with, which makes each person wanting to stand on their own feet and contribute towards society, which I think is a really wonderful thing. So this idea of getting handouts from government or relying on other people, etc., is not very well instilled. I think at the sense of community, their education system is really fantastic. You have this, this idea that you have to just go to 3 or 4 universities, and whoever gets into these very rare, select, prestigious universities, they make it, and anybody who doesn't get into those universities doesn't make it. That's something that they've avoided altogether. So 70% of the people who attend universities in Switzerland attend one of the top 70% in the world universities. And then, of course, you have this way of going and studying through apprenticeships, which really enables people to develop skills, which can be very valuable. And there's no taboo. So the CEO of UBS, he had an apprenticeship training. You have the CEO of Schindler, same thing. So you can actually go through this sort of apprenticeship route and still have a very successful career. And through that, I think they're able to optimize opportunity and really reduce this inequality issue that we have. At the level of companies, you have incredible, fantastic multinationals. And I'll talk about that in a second. In the case of government, you have this really, I think it's probably the mecca of democracy in the world. There's this system of direct democracy, which you have, which is a real crown jewel. And if you're not familiar with it, I'd really encourage you to look into it. And then internationally, they've been incredibly stable and very neutral. So they don't make a lot of enemies, and it's good in life not to have many enemies and have to have a lot of friends. And I think the Swiss have done a pretty good job of that. We just interviewed with. I was down in Rome recently. We interviewed the person running the Vatican. The Swiss still guard the Pope, and they have these barracks with like 60 soldiers that are actually trained to protect the Pope. And it's a pretty rare thing to be selected to protect the most sacred, oldest institutions in the world. So it's something to be proud of. I mean, here you see the competitiveness ranking. They're now ranked number 3rd. For 10 years they were ranked number 1. So it's, of course, something to be very proud of. Next slide. Next slide. And this is something quite unique. This shows you the concentration of these leading multinational companies. And Julieta is here from Nestlé, and Monique is here from Novartis, who's also one of our supporters. And if you look at the per capita number of leading multinational companies in the world, by a factor of 4, so they have about 2, 1.98 versus Germany 0.5, USA less than 0.46. So but they have 5 times the density of leading multinational companies across a whole variety of industries. Next slide. And these are just some of the names that you're probably familiar with. They're all in the book. So if you're interested in understanding how these companies were created, how they prospered, what obstacles they had to overcome, you'll find that in the book. I'm sure some of these names you're familiar with. Next slide. And then there's this sort of issue of the brand. What does Swissness mean? And when you actually you survey, this came from the World Bank and St. Gallen, where Stefan went to school. But if you look at kind of where the value of the Swiss brand is high and where there's a growth in wealth, you see that the Swiss brand is particularly important and valuable in precisely the places that have a higher growth and wealth than other regions. So in the US, for example, the Swiss brand is not particularly important. Also in Europe, I think the French don't particularly value the Swiss brand, or the Germans. But if you go in places like Asia or Latin America or the Middle East, Japan, etc., there's a very high value of the Swiss brand. And what does that mean? Next slide. So, I think when you survey people, when they talk about Swissness, they think about high quality. It's not necessarily, it's not inexpensive. It's actually on the more expensive side. They talk about reliability. They talk about trust. I think they talk about a high ratio of substance versus hype. Pragmatic. The products and services are focused on what's pragmatic, and also sort of. It seems to be skewed on the cautious side because Swiss people are by nature more cautious than other cultures. And this is a short video, but I don't know if it's going to be able to play. But I just show you here. This is the green section of Switzerland, and this shows you basically when it started in 14th century. It shows you just how much volatility, how much change of borders there were in Europe from the 14th century till today. And you see that this green position of Switzerland, just how it's remained, how incredibly stable and solid it's remained, despite having these changes of borders, changes of regime, changes of leadership, wars, pandemics, etc. You still have this incredible political constitution, which is, and I think just that little video. Get that, by the way, on YouTube. It takes about 10 minutes, so we tried to condense it, but it really gives you a sense of this concept of stability and neutrality, which is something that one shouldn't underestimate, the significance of that. So I think in a nutshell, that's, and of course, if you're in Latin America, that even has a much higher premium, this political stability. So in a nutshell, those are sort of some observations about what has made Switzerland successful. I'll turn it over to Christian now, and Julieta and Monique, and I'll be here for questions afterwards if you have anything to ask. So I look forward to any input you might have. So thank you.
Thank you very much, James. Now you can hear me well, right? I'm sorry for the
I can hear you.
technical issues before. So
Christian, we just had you interrupt again.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So they say you're on mute are the most said words in 2020, and I think that's correct. So I wanted to introduce Julieta Loaiza, our next speaker, which is going to be more of a conversation Julieta is Communications and Corporate Affairs Vice President at Nestlé Mexico, currently based in Mexico City. She has more than 25 years of experience creating innovating brands with business strategies, 13 of those years at Nestlé, and she has led consumer communications and multicultural marketing at Nestlé United States. She currently leads a group of 100 experts in Mexico dealing with consumer communication, internal and external communication, e-business, public and corporate affairs, including subjects related to branding, production, packaging, shopper marketing, social media, and Nestlé's strategy to create shared value. She's also a board member of the Swiss Mexican Chamber and other business associations. So Julieta, thanks for being here. And I wanted to start with an initial question. So what does it mean for Nestlé to be a Swiss company?
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Chris, and thank you, James and Monique, my colleagues, to share with me this amazing conversation and panel, to sharing all these amazing achievements we have in our different professions and places we are working and doing. Definitely, I have to start saying that the most important for being as a Swiss company is that we are a global local company, because only the 2%, for example, of the sales of the total company came from Swiss. The rest came from the other companies. And it's difficult to me to start talking about what does it mean for Nestlé to be a Swiss company without a little bit of context about our presence in the world. For example, we have presence in more than 187 countries. We have more than 339,000 people working with us, more than 468 factories, and more than 2,000 brands in food and beverage around the world. And in Mexico, I'm so lucky because we are the 5th country to contribute in the profit to the Nestlé. And we have also a big size, and we are the #1 food and beverage company here and in the world also, with more than 13,000 people, professionals, well prepared, working for us, more than 17 factories, and very soon we will be open the first, biggest, and more technological and innovative factory for coffee, and will be based in Mexico. And this is this is an example how the Swiss means in Latin America as a country in Mexico, and how is the size and how we representative very proud of the all innovation and technology we are able to do and in order to develop our market and our country. As a Swiss company, we have a very strong and very lively purpose that we are living every day, and is enhance the quality of life and contribute at a very healthy future for everyone in the world. And we have 3 key pillars that reflect these Swiss values and spirit across the world. One of each one is the individuals and families, which really help us to promote with them healthy lifestyles and provide a healthy products in a nutritional basis, with all the technology and all the science behind, to they achieve their goals, to this ambition to be healthy and well nutrition. The second one, is the communities. We are convinced that we can contribute actively in every market, in every country that we have present, in develop the prosperity and the development of these communities. We have a strong commitment to do that. And the third one is our planet. We are trying to ensure the availability of all the planet resources across the world for our future generation. All of these, we did it and doing right now through the creating shared value. We are creating a lot of alliances with so many institutions councils and world representatives, worldwide organizations like the United Nations, and we're signing agreements to really develop a sustainable environment for the future. All of this is as a reflection of our commitment with our founder, Henry Nestlé, which demonstrated across all his life that the respect to life, to the environment, the empathy in hard times, provide the creativity, their innovation, all the knowledge for the humanity is key through a good food and good life.
Thank you, Julieta. And it is indeed impressive how Nestlé, well, all the global initiatives that you are taking, that are taking place. And I also used to work in Brazil, and there Brazilians thought that Nestlé was from Brazil. Mexicans think that Nestlé is a local company. And this is, you know, in part because Nestlé has acquired many local companies. So my next question is, how does Nestlé balance, you know, representing and selling local, very local products, for example, in Mexico, Chocolate Abuelita, but also being, you know, a Swiss company?
Well, definitely, as I mentioned, in LatAm, Nestlé is a Swiss Latin company, okay? Because we have these amazing global brands as Nespresso or as Nido or as Nescafé, but also we have Chocolate Abuelita, one of our most valuable icons brands. But for example, Nescafé in Mexico, I can say more than 90% of our Mexican has an everyday a cup of coffee of Nescafé in our mornings, in our tables. What does it mean? It means that we believe that the product, the value, the quality that every Mexican has in this cup of coffee is unique, irreplaceable. If suddenly disappear, it's like a disappear part of our essence and our values in Mexico. Our culture also is embedded in our company and in our brands. Each product reflects that commitment through nutrition, through technology. We understand and respect the culture, you know, and the way of living in each market we operate to really reflect how is our ambition to connect, to provide the best for everyone. We combine the technology, all our knowledge, looking to the future with this essence from Swiss, all this knowledge also translated in the Mexican context in also to provide the best for each people, consumer who really like our brands and products.
Thank you. I have another question because as you all know, Switzerland has been ranked for more than 10 years as the global country of innovation, you know, in all the innovation rankings. So what does Nestlé do in terms of innovation? I know there are, you talked about the new factories in Mexico, which have you know, all the technology for this. So what does Nestlé do in terms of innovation?
Well, it's a fundamental key stone and pillar, Christine. For Nestlé, innovation is part of our origin and has a very broader scope for all of us right now because it's a great potential opportunity to grow. In fact, part of our sales coming from the innovation, and not only behind the products or behind the brands, it's coming behind our process and the way we are working every day. We are promoting right now a strong culture of innovation. And innovation is reflected in our company through every employee who are able to achieve any ambition and with this entrepreneurship vision that we promote internally. For example, we have a 1 day a year for launching a different opportunities or task that we have as a company, as a market, or with our consumers, and let the employees to create teams and develop different and propose different solutions. We are creating for that purpose a community of game changers that every year they help us to achieve our goals and solve that problems through innovation and creativity. All the participants and the winners, of course, receive guidance, capabilities. We are creating societies and partnerships with Endeavor, for example, which is an innovation accelerator, or Ventures Capital like Angel Venture, who help us to guide and provide the reasons why that all of these projects can make it happen in Mexico. This is one of a kind opportunity to everyone in this ecosystem to contribute with creativity and a lot of innovation to really help the country as a change maker to really transform our reality for the future.
Thank you. That is impressive. And also, I have two more questions. So one maybe related to all the initiatives that you have with young people. As you know, the Swiss model of dual education is being expanded abroad. And right now, the Pacific Alliance Summit for the youth is actually taking place today and tomorrow. So why are you betting for young people? Why are your focus, the focus of Nestlé on youth?
Well, as James mentioned in the book, one of our most important values and interests and objectives today and for the future is the youngest employability, and their development is key for the future of the world. So right now we are absolutely convinced that in this pandemic environment, we have to be more clever and more smart to really provide the tools and the knowledge that they are able to develop easily and in a fast track. And yes, currently right now, we started at 8 a.m. We have our fifth encounter of youth with in partnership with the Pacific Alliance, leading by Chile, and more than 90,000 young people are connected right now. The objective we have behind the initiative for youth is that impact and diminish the desertion in the workflow of the youth, that provides tools, employability opportunities, and increase the competencies and abilities to really be prepared, to really leading with the opportunities they can achieve and they can have in this moment in Latin America. We started the program in 2015. We launched the initiative in the full LatAm, and right now we are focusing in 4 main countries: Mexico, Chile, Colombia, and Peru. The dual the formación dual, I'm sorry, forget the translation. Exactly, yeah. And it's one of the key pillars of this program, because help to the young people to really have this combination of experience in the land, in a reality of a work, and also incorporate the knowledge, the theory, all they learn in the classroom. So today we have more than impacted with all the program, more than 4,500 young people, helping to reach for their first employee work, and also we have a lot of practitioners and apprentices in different companies. More than 100 other companies join us in this program to really leverage and achieve our goals. No, we are working very close with our ministers and secretaries of educational, that really help us to accelerate the program and provide us more reach to make it happen.
Thank you very much, Julieta. And I've heard also that Nestlé has launched this initiative in the Mercosur area. It has recently launched it in Panama and Central America. So it shows the commitment of Nestlé with the dual education system and with the youth in Latin America in general. So we will move forward and then come back with the Q&A session. I would now like to introduce Monique Clúa Braun from Novartis. Monique is Oncology General Manager for the South Cluster, which includes Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Bolivia, and Paraguay. She's based in Buenos Aires and has more than 20 years experience in charge of transforming health systems, commercial models, and medical practice toward current and future needs. She joined Novartis in 2006 as a brand director for Latin America. She was then appointed as a specialist head at Novartis Mexico, and then as a regional ophthalmology head for Novartis Latin America and Canada, and finally as a head of innovation and transformation. Monique obtained a certification in communications and management from HSG St. Gallen in Switzerland, and holds a degree in communications and advertising from Anáhuac University. So Monique, thank you for being here, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Christian, for the invitation. Also to James, Stefan, and Julieta as the colleagues of this very interesting webinar. I must say that I feel not only like very proud of the invitation and of being here to speak about Novartis, but I must say that myself is also like a testimony of all this Swissness that can come from my name. And studying at the HSG, you will see that I'm a third culture child, born Mexican, but with a Swiss mother, and with a very long career already within Novartis. So I will start just to give you a flavor on what Novartis footprint in Argentina is, that as you know, it's like the base of this South Cone hub, and of course, like the largest country. Just for you to be aware, like Argentina is the third largest economy within Latin America, the fourth country in the region in terms of population. And as you might already know, it's a world-class labor force, basically because of the technical skills of its people, the creativity and the versatility that of course come from a very challenging environment. Just for you to know, our business here, like in terms of employees, is above 400 employees. We have currently like 3 main divisions. So the pharmaceutical division, the generics division known as Sandoz, which is also one of our former companies, and like the oncology division, the one that I'm heading. What we have done in Argentina over almost 100 years, in a couple of years to be celebrated, is basically to have a very big social responsibility, right? So we have been working in the oncology I'm heading on the cancer movement that basically aims to put cancer as a disease that needs treatment and funds from all of the governments. As you might already have heard, and I was very keen listening to Julieta, it's not only like from the good habits that you have and prevention, of course, but sometimes, and very unfortunately, we also get sick. So that's part of our mission on reimagining medicine. And of course, we all realize that besides COVID, there's like the big oncology pandemic. So lots of efforts are being done at the local level on the cancer movement. There's also like a big Chagas project. Chagas is a not a non-communicable disease that it's very unknown. It has to do with very low income people that live in the suburbs. So basically there's a big project ongoing in Chagas. And of course, we also have like some other of our concerns as very related to our Swissness, related to the environment we live in. So there's a big project in Santo Domingo of reforestation. But what's most known about our company and basically the footprint we have here in Argentina is all of our efforts on research and development. As you might have already seen, it's the #1 company in clinical trials here in the country. Very early stages taking a place here in the country with lots of sites many patients impacted. And I guess this speaks like very, very loud on the capacity of the Argentinian people and talent, but as well on the efforts of Novartis in this country. Just also for you to be aware, and what we feel very proud of the achievements over the last couple of years is the memorandums of understanding we have done basically with the Minister of Health, just to ensure that we shape the ecosystem on healthcare locally. We have also some rankings that speak about our reputation, about our image, about being a good citizenship. And most trendly right now, you might know we do not have a vaccines division as other companies, but anyhow, there's a big investigation. I mean, a couple of the compounds we have in place or those to come that could positively impact COVID. So basically, we were not only making some donations, but also ensuring that those patients that could benefit because of their physician's decision of one of our drugs for COVID could embark into some managed programs, and of course, clinical trials. And of course, we know that shaping the ecosystem, and mostly after this year we're facing right now, it's very, very tough to do in isolation. So basically, we're also signing some collaboration agreements just to ensure that we can shape the ecosystem further. So that's a little bit on Novartis in Argentina, but I think like the topic that is reuniting us today is like what being Swiss means, right? So if you give me the following slide, for Novartis, you will see that I mean, the meaning of being Swiss is all over the place. Basically, because the origins of this company comes from two Swiss pharmaceuticals, very widely known since very early stages, Ciba-Geigy and Sandoz, that were like basically like the seeding flower for Novartis in 1996. But then basically like the company has always been adapting to the healthcare environment. So you will see that if you see like the story Novartis has had was from being very broad into the offer of healthcare and what could be related to healthcare, on being much more into the focus to ensure that innovation is always there, but not only in the medicines, but also in how we bring some new offers and targeted solutions to the field. Of course, this also relates to innovation and quality standards, not only on the way we manufacture all of our drugs, but also on how we do our commercial business that speaks very highly about the ethics that we have in our day-to-day activities. And one of the I would say the wordings I like a lot is like what it's in our ADN, and it's to be the best or the first or the first in the class, right? So whenever we aim to really reimagine medicine and bring new compounds, we either want to be the first to try and to bring new mode of actions, or to ensure that our drug, even if it's not the best, is the best in class in terms of course, efficacy, safety, and all of the features of a product. If you give me the following slide, I think when speaking about ethics and how we behave and what's demanded from a Swiss company, I guess like the values and behaviors we praise and we also foster a lot within our day-to-day activities is of course innovation. It's the ADN of the company, and it goes beyond the product, right? I speak a lot on how we develop medicines, but it's also on how we commercialize, how we engage, how we bring new solutions. I mean, we all realize current situations in healthcare are not only required of new drugs, but also of very complex and value-added solutions. So it starts with diagnosis. It starts not only on getting the right treatment, but on how you adhere to those treatments and what other supports besides the medicine you need. So innovation is all over the place. Of course, performance, right? To ensure we take risks when needed, but that they are smart and the proper ones. Collaboration, I guess it's in all the companies, but also very heartily appreciated right now on getting cross-functional teams, diverse cultures, diversity of thinking into the room to ensure we have like the best solutions available. integrity, and I speak very loud about integrity, which also speaks, as I said, also with ethics about the Swissness, but also on being like a pharma industry that we all realize is always facing some reputational challenges. Integrity must be in our ADN. Courage, I think courage is always needed to change the status quo. We're in an industry, as many of the industries, of course, but that is rapidly evolving. Who's taking the decision and what is really important to face decisions is always changing, tensing forces. And of course, for all of us that like marketing, it's a very complex marketing where the decision maker is not the end user. So it's a very big scope of stakeholders to manage. So it takes courage to take proper decisions. And as already said, of course, quality, not only in our productions, but also on how we learn, also when we face some failures. Going to the next slide. Basically, why is Switzerland a renowned pharma hub? You know, there's like in Basel, there are like these two big pharmaceuticals, Novartis and Roche. One is, of course, because of the infrastructure that is available in the country. Of course, the talent that is there with very well-trained professionals and the proximity to research institutions and how Switzerland has managed to connect all of these institutions worldwide to ensure that pharma industry keeps developing is really very, very impressive. The stock exchange for life science companies, main hub, and of course the very long legacy. As I said already, I mean, it starts not with Novartis and Roche, but really like the formers of these companies and how these seeds were planted very early in Switzerland. Moving to the next slide. Innovation, as I said, I think it's the core of the ADN. As you might see in the future, we're trying to reimagine medicine, and reimagining medicine is not only deciding on how to bring new compounds, right? So putting science and medicine together, I put here as an example on oncology. What we're doing right now is to find target therapies. As you might be aware, like cancer is not like a disease that for each patient you need like the same kind of medicine. It depends a lot on how the tumor is evolving. So you need like a very targeted solution. We have also come very widely known on the cell and gene therapies that basically shape the immune system and put like the own cells to work properly. It's very known, like the CAR T that we have right now on the market, where basically like patients with certain type of cancers get some of their blood out that gets into the lab, kind of reshaped and introduced again to the individual so that the cells start to combat the illness from inside the body. Immune therapies, widely known in cancer and in many other diseases right now. And RadioGland is basically like another therapeutic platform we're tackling in that basically has to do with radioactive components that need to be put into your body to tackle some cancer diseases, and this is also being studied. It also has to do with all the digital tools that are available right now, so artificial intelligence and any kind of predictive analysis you might know, not only to ensure that we develop clinical trials much faster. I guess like nowadays we cannot afford for new medicines to take more than 10 years to be developed. So basically we're trying to speed up into the benefit of the patients, but also to ensure that clinical trials and research and development, which is also core of our Swissness, can be done easier, right? So as many of you might know, usually you need to go to the investigation sites, get your therapy there, your testing. So basically now we're trying to challenge that and ensure that the study can reach you wherever you are in your home. So basically that is enabled with digital and of course some partnerships. Try to come with new business models. I guess like the pharmaceutical industry is still like a very traditional business model, I would say, with our sales force reaching physicians. So how can we engage in new ways, try to shape differently? We all see some tensing forces, right, between like the physician's decision and the healthcare systems itself and the way they're facing the budget challenges they have right now, and that will only get tougher over the years to come when patients live much longer with more diseases, and of course with a system that is right now especially broken because of COVID, right? And last but not least, I would say there's a lot about our culture. So what really moves us, and it's basically like this source of feeling inspired, right? Try to learn, to challenge, to be curious, to try new things. And basically this word of unbossed, which I personally like a lot, which is basically empowering people, right? I was very keen also listening on Julieta's presentation on how we can put like the new talents and the newcomers to the field. Is it from universities or basically people that are early in their careers or just joining the pharmaceutical industry? How can we invite them to really take the challenge, take their decisions without, like a very traditional hierarchies? So I think this term unbossed is also now painting a little bit of the Novartis culture. And I know it's resonating a lot between very different industries. So having said all of this, I must say I really like being here, speaking about the culture. Of course, it's difficult to resume what all the things that Novartis does, but I must say that all the Swissness that was spoken for at the very beginning of today's webinar is in the plate on the day-to-day job we do in the company. So thank you for that, Christian.
No, thank you very much, Monique. And I am sure all the contributions that Novartis and companies in the pharmaceutical sector will contribute to Switzerland being one of the most innovative countries in the world, and all the spending you do in research and development as well. So we can go now to the Q&A session. If you have any questions, please write them on the chat. We have received already with the registration some questions. The first one addressed to James. Why did you consider it necessary to write a book that highlights the main characteristics of Swiss products and services?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you for asking it. Well, I couldn't.
James, I think we cannot hear you very well.
Can you hear me now? Is it okay? Or?
Yes, it's better. I think if you get closer to
yeah. Okay, good. So yeah, very good question. Thank you for asking. So I used to write for The Economist, and I read a book. It was written in 1960 from Lorenz Stucki called Das Heimliche Imperium in German, which is the secret empire. And I thought it was really interesting to see just how, on the one hand, how complex Switzerland is, but how small it is, but it's still very, very complex society. And I just felt that 1960 is a long time ago, and a lot of things have happened since then. So I had just met at a cocktail party. I met at that time the editor of the Neue Zürcher Zeitung, which is a leading newspaper in Switzerland, and we talked about that. It turned out that this person who wrote this book grew up in the same village near Zug, and this writer's father was a famous diplomat. Basically the conversation evolved, and he said, "Well, why don't we try to write an update to this book that's really reflects this phenomenal story?" So that's how it came about. And I think, like all new initiatives, one underestimates how much work is required, and we had to assemble a team of researchers, and we worked with all the different companies. So we worked with Nestlé, and companies like Nestlé and Novartis have their own historians, they have their own archives, etc. So it was quite a lot of work to put together the research. I had a fellowship from Harvard. I went back, I took a sabbatical. We had access to all the business case studies from the Harvard Business School. And we gathered a whole bunch of supporters, initially very few supporters, but then over time with each additional language version, we managed to convince new companies to join us. So it's probably easier to say who's not supporting us than it is to say who's supporting us. I saw, for example, someone from SIGPA is attending the webinar, and Philippe Beaumont has been a supporter for the French version, along with Pictet and Nestlé, etc. So yeah, it's been a fascinating journey. I've enjoyed every step of it. This is, of course, a very important one, as I mentioned before.
Thank you, James. Then I have the next question for Julieta. So you were also leading the multicultural market in the US, which is the largest market for Nestlé, and I think that is very interesting. And I was reading that there are more than 50 million Latinos only in the US. So how can you tell us about, what can you tell us about your experience leading this market?
Oh, sure. Was a very, very good one, an impressive one, because as you know, US is the biggest market in marketing and communication. They're leading technology right now for Latin America, and also represent the country #1 for Nestlé in profit. So that opportunity to work there and learn from there helped me to really understand how the Hispanics and Latin American people living there are really right now driving the growth in the country. 4th, 5th generation of Hispanics and Latin American working, living there, and also consume the Nestlé products is amazing. And the way they are expected from those brands to connect with them and energize their lives and respect their culture, which is a mix and really combined, of culture, because it's American in some ways, but inside the house, as soon as they close in the door and they're living the experience as a Latin and Hispanics are very, very, very conservative in some way, and in others they are expected the real experience, which evocate their heritage and their roots. So understand, as a Nestlé, a Swiss company, respecting the culture, respecting and honor the brand building of our brands and our DNA, we really have the experience to translate it in an amazing communication, and even developed and innovate and renovate products to let them show the power of the cooking or the providing nutritional meals, combining this mix of cultures. Always, always, always Nestlé, as a Swiss company, respect every single human being and provide the nutrition they need. Understanding the way they live, the way they eating, the way they prepare the food. And that was something that I keep it for myself for the rest of my professional career. And right now, in the next steps, I'm sure we have the opportunity to have with Nestlé here in Mexico or in other markets. I will be very respectful about that experience and translate the best I could and respect the best I could.
Thank you, Julieta. And then we have time for just one more question for Monique here from the chat, from Rosana Uribe. Putting science and medicine together, it is important to assure the origin of medicines. So I'm gonna change this question for all Latin America. Do countries in Latin America uses a tool traceability for medicines from the origin to the consumer?
Yes, sure, we do. Basically, for all of you that do not work for the pharmaceutical industry, I mean, basically depending on the country regulations, we need to retest some of the medicines that are coming from Switzerland or from any of our sites. At the same time, we keep track on each of our codes and our medicines, where they're shipped and who's taking them. And I must say that this is widely important, not only because of ensuring like the quality of the medicine, but as well, like the biggest clinical trial we have is like the real world, right? How medicines behave on a day-to-day with large scale of patients, different ethnics, different conditions. So of course, there's like a very big traceability, and I must say, very embedded into our processes and also with the stakeholders and vendors we work with.
Thank you very much, Monique. So I would like to thank all of our panelists, the Swiss Chambers and the participants. We would like to end with one Christmas special from the Swiss book of Swiss Made Foundation. If you can put the slide. And Stefan, I will give you the floor for the closing of this webinar. Thank you, Monique, Julieta, and James for your time, and Elena from Panama for the logistics also.
Yes, thanks a lot, Christian. And the last slide, yes, as you can see, the Santa Claus has arrived a bit earlier this year. So we want you to invite to benefit from this special Christmas promotion we just launched today, which means you can order the hard copy version with a 10% discount during the next 2 weeks. So this would be an ideal approach also for Christmas presents. We talked about the benefits of the book, the client relationships, or maintaining a relationship with stakeholders in general. And also the ebook version, you will find it now. I changed it yesterday, so I lowered the price 20% for the next 2 weeks. So get the book, read it, and personally, I am also fascinated by all the background information. Also, my personal opinion: when was cheese ready to be exported? Why was every second watch after the World War II from Switzerland? So this is a lot of very nice information, and I want also to invite you to contact me if there is any question, any doubt on the Spanish version here. Let me know. You can find my email address on this slide. And yes, so from my side, thank you, Christian, for the organization, the whole organization of this webinar. It was really interesting. And yes, I wish you a nice Christmas time and stay safe also from my side.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you,
Thank
Christian.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.